You probably know the saying, you can give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Or you can teach a man how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. I think this is not the solution anymore. We live in a changing world, and it's changing and developing faster and faster. Because the more we humans understand different parts of nature, the more we have control over it. Never before our environment was that artificial. Never before we were that interconnected. What I decide to do on this side of the planet can literally save or kill someone on the other side. And it's getting more and more complex to have an overview. At the stock market, machines are already trading in milliseconds, and the information available in the internet grows exponentially. It's hard to keep up. The world is changing, and teaching specific skills or knowledge isn't sufficient anymore. We already need to be able to decide today what to learn to tackle the challenges of tomorrow. So, you can give a man a fish, or you can teach a man how to fish, or you can teach a man how to learn how to fish. What we really need to learn and to teach others is to look at the world and to understand how it works, because that's the basis to solve any problem. I think what we have to do is what technology already does. We have to update. We have to be able to change our minds. And to do so, we first of all have to understand how our mind works. Understanding our mind. That is, of course, a big topic too. There are an awful lot of different methods and tools to learn. Everyone should understand probability theory, because people still sometimes take the car instead of the plane because they are afraid of dying, while taking the risk of driving is basically suicide in comparison. Everyone should know logic, expected value, and what the difference between correlation and causation is, because rain dances do indeed work if you keep dancing until it finally starts to rain. Everyone should know rational choice theory and basics of how humans actually make choices. We also need to know how to communicate information better, how to understand our own emotions, and how to change our mental habits. But today I only have very limited time. In his lectures on physics, Richard Feynman asked himself, if all scientific knowledge was destroyed and only one sentence could be passed on to the next generation, what statement would contain the most information in the fewest words? He believed it's the atomic fact, the knowledge that all things are made out of atoms. In that one sentence, he thought, is an enormous amount of information if just a little imagination and thinking are applied. Given how limited my time today is, I asked myself, what is the one statement that will tell you the most about how our mind works and how to use it? What sentence contains the most information? And I found one. I think it is, the map is not the territory. What does it primarily mean? The map is not the territory says that what we believe about the world, what our map of the world is not the world, the reality itself. Our beliefs about the world and the world itself are two separate things. This sounds obvious. When we use a map, we know it's only a model of the world. We would not try to actually walk on the paper, right? So why is this awareness so important? Because when we don't know that our beliefs about the world and the reality itself are two things, then beliefs are invisible. Then we think what we believe about the world is simply how the world is. The most important thing is to not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. When we understand that our models of the world and reality itself are two things, then we also understand that what we assume about reality does not directly change it. When we think gravity doesn't have an effect on us, we will still fall when we walk from a cliff. When you think someone is really, really stupid, it will not lower their IQ. As Philip K. Dick said, reality is that which, when you stop believing in it, does not go away. But the sentence, "the map is not the territory," also shows us something else that's fundamentally important. It tells us that there's always a gap between how the world is and how we think it is. So the question is not if someone is crazy or not. The question is by how much. We can't completely trust what we see. Even our normal perception is flawed. We only can see what we pay attention to. We see what we expect to see. And even what we remember afterwards changes. For example, when we are sad, we suddenly remember every little failure. Basically, we never accomplished anything in our life. We only got rejected, said embarrassing things, and made the wrong choices. But on a good day, we figure out that we actually mastered all our challenges pretty well, and we never really had to worry. Even how you ask people changes their memories. Also, we rather perceive things that agree with what we believe anyway. We call these flaws cognitive biases. The good message is that we can learn about our flaws. We are flawed in a systematic way. And we can use this knowledge to overcome them. For example, here you see a chessboard. Which field is darker, A or B? Actually, they are the same color. But after you learned it, you still see it wrong. It's not like you changed your perception. But also, now that you know the mistake, you're able to give the right answer. So the next time someone asks, you can say it correctly. So to know our flaws can help us to see the world more clearly. When we hear the word map, we usually know what it's used for. Imagine this fictional phone call. "Hey, can you help me? I'm in Paris, and I totally want to visit the Eiffel Tower, but I can't find it on the map. Look again, it should be somewhere near the river. Oh, yeah, there's actually a tower, but it's called Big Ben. Wait, is it a map of Paris? No, we only had a map of London at home, and I didn't want to buy a new one, so I just took the map of London." This sounds obviously wrong to us. We intuitively know that simply taking the first map doesn't work. We need to have the right map. This also applies to mental models. We need the right model of the world to reach our goals. Let's say you want to buy chocolate. You need to know which supermarket sells chocolate, because otherwise you go to the wrong one and can't buy it. This is also important if we follow less egoistic goals, when we want to help others. Some charities create really vivid pictures in our head of happy families that now have a goat that gives them milk, or even a pump for water that you can also use for playing, which is of course nice, because the poor children don't have any other toys and would of course play there the whole day, right? In real life, the play pumps were not really used by the children, and women had to work harder after the pumps were installed, because nobody made the effort to test if that's how the world works. So our model of the world needs to be consistent to reality, to be useful. If someone helps us and tells us that the chocolate is sold out at the supermarket, we would be thankful. We can directly go to another store or stay at home. It's useful. But when it comes to other beliefs, we protect them. We often rather want to win the argument than to be right. But we just figured out that having a working map is very valuable, so being proven wrong and getting a better model of the world is something positive. We should even figure it out on purpose. That's what science does. You can think about science as a systematic question to nature to figure out where we are wrong. It tries to compensate for the mistakes we do in our everyday observations. Scientists ask, what do we think is true? And what real-life feedback would follow from that? And how can we test if this actually happens? And if it doesn't happen, then it probably isn't how the world works. It's the same with startups. You find something that sounds like a good idea, but then you set up a website and check if that's what other people also think it's a good idea. If nobody buys it, then maybe it was a bad idea, and you rather want to fail quickly so that you can change to another option and don't lose your money. This is, by the way, one of the most important questions to ask yourself. Would you bet 1,000 euros on the predictions of your belief? If you don't feel good in putting money behind what you think is right, then you should think twice about how certain you are. This is one warning sign we should pay attention to. Other warning signs are belief systems that don't even allow us to question them. When we understand that we need to have a map that actually shows our world to reach our goals, this can also mean something else. Imagine you had a map of your hometown that didn't show the best restaurants, or the best museums, or the best clubs. When you get a new map that shows you these options, you of course would rather want to go there. It's the same with our models of the world. They don't just help us to reach our goals, they can also change what we think are good goals. Most people want to be happy. But our first models in life about how to reach happiness, I just need dad one more toy, don't work anymore when we grow up. And the psychological study of happiness, of course, can't yet grasp the whole phenomenon of happiness, but still, we have a good overview about what makes people happy in the long run and what doesn't. Buying more materialistic things, for example, doesn't. Living a meaningful life and making the lives of others better, for example, does. So, when we change what we know and understand about the world, it isn't just instrumental to reach our goals, it also changes our goals. As you can see, there's so much you can learn from the simple understanding that our beliefs about the world and the world itself are two separate things. One field where it has a lot of practical use is communication. Too often we say too fast, "You are arrogant. You made a mistake. The world is dark and unfair." When we understand the gap between what we perceive and think and the world itself, then we can look at our emotions and our thoughts from a bigger distance. It's not you do, you are, or the world is. It's I perceive, I think, I feel. Then we can say, I feel hurt right now. I feel not loved enough. I feel sad. And at the same time, we know it doesn't mean directly that we are not loved enough, or that the world is only a sad, dark place. And when we understand this, we can find out together what actually is the case and how to make it better. This is also important on a global scale. Based on what we think about the world, we divide the world into us versus them. But the more we are connected, we need to understand that we are looking at the same planet. We need to understand each other by having the same understanding of how the world is. So you can give a man a fish, you can teach a man how to fish, or you can teach a man how to learn how to fish by teaching how to change his mind. So, what do I want you to take home from this? Of course, there are a lot of books you could read right now. I think the most famous one is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, but I also strongly recommend, for example, Robots' Rebellion, which is not that famous. Yeah, I'll just let you take pictures. But I think you're here because you like shortcuts to good ideas, so there's also, sorry guys, here, if my magic works. No, he doesn't listen. Hey, doesn't work? Okay, it obviously doesn't work. I have to update on this. What I wanted to show you is the logo of CFAR, which is the Center for Applied Rationality. They have a really cool game online about basically see how uncertain we often are. And also I strongly want to recommend clearerthinking.org, where you can also have a lot of mini courses and games about basically, yeah, clearer thinking and rationality. So, yeah, it doesn't work. But there's also you can take home with you right now. Keep in mind that your beliefs about the world and the world are two separate things. Be honest with yourself. Be thankful if someone proves you wrong, because it will be useful in the long run. Stay open-minded and test your beliefs. What is true is already so. Owning up to it doesn't make it worse. Not being open about it doesn't make it go away. And because it's true, it is what is there to be interacted with. Anything untrue isn't there to be lived. This is not only useful. Understanding and grasping how the world works also makes us able to perceive what Richard Dawkins calls the magic of reality. Did you know that after years of relationships, we literally become part of the brain of our partner? Did you think about that you are part of a line of lives that never had a disruption in millions of years? Science and understanding add beauty we can perceive on different dimensions. And changing our minds does not only help us to perceive the world, it also helps us to create a better reality tomorrow. Thank you.